Hey there, University of Waterloo friends. It's me again. It's Chris. Welcome back. We're doing a we're doing another write-in. If this is your first time joining us, this is a Writing and Communication Center live PJ-friendly write-in, hosted and streamed on YouTube. One of a number of new formats for online and remote services that we're kind of testing out, trying to get a feel for new ways to connect with and support students at every step of the writing process. As we adapt to strategies that work in an online setting. As I said, I am Chris. I am a graduate peer tutor at the Writing and Communication Center at UW. Been doing it for a couple of years. Most of my professional work involves supporting student writing. I'm also an editor on the side for a number of academic and non-academic ventures. So I work with writing. It's kind of what I do. Glad you could come out, hang out. We're going to be doing a 2-hour kind of guided writing session this evening from 7 p.m. Eastern to 9 p.m. Eastern. We're doing this every Thursday for the rest of the semester, which means we'll be doing it tonight. And we'll also be doing it next Thursday, I believe, is the last night that we're doing this, which pretty much tracks with the semester schedule. I know this is the time of semester when final assignments are kind of coming down to the wire. This is probably the stressful time of semester for a lot of people. I get that. I feel that. So if you're having a hard time sitting down and actually getting some writing done, hopefully we can work together and kind of support each other and make that happen for a couple hours tonight. You can see the schedule below, but if you're new to this, we're basically following the Pomodoro model for structuring our time tonight. Again, if you've never heard of it, it was basically invented by an Italian dude who took inspiration from his apple-shaped timer, his Pomodoro apple timer, when he was trying to get work done. So what that means for us tonight is we're going to have 3 25-minute chunks where we kind of just knuckle down and write. You'll be able to see what I'm working on live on stream. I've got a window capture going for that. Nothing super exciting this week. Depending on what you're interested in, I'm probably going to be doing a bit of zero drafting for a new section of my dissertation. So that's me kind of giving kind of a first pass, like brain word vomit without super worrying about polish or research or citation. Just getting words on the page, because once I've got that starting point, it becomes a lot less intimidating to actually keep coming back to it and get more of the work going. Interspersed between those 3 25-minute blocks, we will have 5-minute breaks, followed by a 10-minute break after the third one. Those are just as important. It is essential that you kind of recharge your brain and your body at regular intervals as you're getting the work done. This does help maximize your productivity, and it also helps you organize the time you're spending tonight. I know, like, capital B big mood right now is what is time? Has time lost all meaning? All the more reason why structures like the Pomodoro method are helpful for structuring time on a micro scale and getting some work done. So you can look back on your progress and go, hey, yeah, I feel pretty good about that. If you're just signing in, I'd love to hear from you in chat. Say hi. I'm just going to pop over to the stream window. It's delighted to see that I'm actually streaming this time. The first time I put this on this semester, I messed up my encoder key. So I was basically talking to myself for 15 minutes, which, I'm sure was cute, but must have been confusing for people who were actually tuning in and expecting to do this live guided writing thing. But anyway, that didn't happen. I'm delighted. So it's about 5 minutes after. So this is the time of the night that I've got blocked off to talk about kind of a writing tip. I've talked about a bunch of different things over the semester. I've talked about stuff like what does your Spotify playlist look like? What kind of dark mode tools and plugins are you using to make your word processor a little easier on the eyes? I've talked about different kinds of pre-writing rituals and exercises. I've talked about thinking about the acoustic space around you. This one's less specifically about writing, and it's more just kind of a general productivity tip. And that's just checking in with friends, which is probably something we all need to be doing more of right now anyway, because we're seeing people physically less often. So, aside from the context of a guided writing tour, aside from the fact you've got assignments due, make sure you're talking to people in the outside world right now. That just seems like a good ritual to keep up. But specifically, what I'm talking about here is the fact that maintaining self-discipline and setting a work schedule can be a difficult habit to form, especially if you're trying to get that started up right now, where we are experiencing understandable impacts to our mental health, and where we don't have nearly as many structuring elements in our days, or weeks, or months. And it's also just hard to hold yourself accountable when you aren't seeing a whole lot of the outside world. So one thing I think that's helpful for responding to that is making a habit of checking in with a couple of your close friends. And telling them specifically what you hope to accomplish that day. So if you've got a work day blocked off for tonight or tomorrow or Saturday or what have you, I find it's valuable to have a go-to friend that you talk to about that kind of stuff and let them know in advance, this is the stuff I want to get done today. This is the stuff I want to work on. This is maybe how many pages I want to get done, or this is how many hours I want to spend in front of the keyboard working like squarely on this one thing. No matter how you want to quantify that, find some way to quantify it and express it to a couple of close friends. Now, the point isn't to like ask your friends to harangue you into staying productive. You're not hiring your friends to be your temporary parents. I don't want to imply anything like that, but rather what I'm hoping the effect is that you take your internal thought process about your goals, your tasks, your responsibilities, what have you, and you externalize that thought process by telling someone about what you're doing. And besides, the upside to that is after a good writing session, now you know who to brag to first because you've already got a couple friends who have the context for your brag. So when you come back to them later at the end of the day saying, I got 8 pages written. I got the paper finished. I got through a round of revisions, or I read the entire book. Well, now they are already now they already have enough context going into that to be able to appreciate and validate that work that you've done. So I don't know if you would strictly call it a buddy system, but find a way to externalize that accountability. Um, in kind of a low impact way with people that you trust, that you've already got a kind of an intimate kind of communication rapport with. I find this has been helpful for me personally, having a couple friends that I let know what I'm doing, what I hope to be doing, because then it's no longer just me kind of ruminating on it internally, mentally, and thinking, well, no one's going to know if I just don't work today. And sometimes that's the case. Sometimes that's valid. Sometimes a day is just a wash and you need to take some time off. But stuff's got to get done, right? Stuff still has to get done. So a friend system for externalizing your goals, your productivity aspirations, I think could be a helpful and useful structure. Um, if you have any thoughts about what we've been talking about for the last couple of minutes, feel free to hit me up in chat. I will be checking it periodically throughout the evening, taking little cheat breaks from the Pomodoro schedule to look in. Okay, so We're at 10 after. We will be starting the first palm at 7:15. So we've got 5 minutes, and in that time, I'd like you to think about some goal setting for the evening. And to find, if you're new to this, it's helpful to break those goals into kinds of 3 tiers of stuff, what you hope to get done for that session. They're all up on the screen right now, so none of these are surprises, but the first one is your pie in the sky stretch goals. Let's say you're having a completely on fire day. The words are just flowing from the keyboard or flowing from the pen, however you're getting the writing done right now. What are your stretch goals? What are your most optimistic predictions / expectations for what you'd like to get done today? If you're having just like big energy flow throughout the evening. And think of this in terms of you're going to be writing for about 75 minutes tonight, so an hour, 15 minutes. Thinking about that as kind of your temporal goalpost, which doesn't quite sound like Star Trek technobabble, but is veering dangerously close. What would be your optimistic forecast? Okay, realistic expectations. This one's pretty self-explanatory, but basically, what would an average writing session look like? Given an hour and change of kind of focused pen to the page, fingers to the keyboard, this imagery is starting to fall apart. What can you baseline expect from yourself if you're having a normal writing session? And then there's your worst case scenario. And it's good to set kind of like a worst case scenario. It's good to set some kind of floor for your productivity expectations. If you're having a totally off day, you're having a hard time focusing, it's just the words aren't coming, writer's block, all that kind of stuff. I've spent a lot of time just staring at the blank white screen of a new document, so I get that energy. I know that feel. It's bad vibes, man, but it happens. What say you push through that, get a few words out. What would your goals look like there? And you can quantify this however you want. It could be word count, it could be page count, it could just be an amorphous state of the draft, like how far along you think you are percentage-wise from rough draft to complete draft or no draft to first draft, what have you, whatever helps you keep track. And I would, of course, be interested in hearing about your goals for the evening. I would also like to know what you're working on. I know this is the time of semester where a wide variety of summative assessments are due. I don't think it'll be work term reports because I believe those were due last week, but a whole bunch of other stuff I know is coming in right now across all genres and media. And I would be interested to hear what you're working on. I know there's been an increased push for multimedia writing projects in the classroom in recent years, and there's probably going to be a bigger push for that right now as things look like for the foreseeable future, they're going to have a more strongly online focus. So tell me what you're working on. I'm curious, I'm intrigued. I'm always interested in this stuff. My own goals for the night, a little bit difficult for me to quantify and articulate because it's zero drafting, so I don't really know where it will land. But if I have a full page of usable notes or material at the end of the day, I would call that, maybe I'd call that realistic. Pie in the sky stretch goals, let's call that 1.5 to 2. Worst case scenario, I get a paragraph on the page. So again, the goals don't have to be that complicated. They don't have to be that elaborate in how you articulate them. We used to position this as kind of an explicit journaling exercise, but as long as you can hold kind of like 3 tiers of goals in your head, that does the job. That's fine. Journaling can be a useful pre-writing exercise. This is something I've talked about in previous evenings. But yeah. Once again, though, I would love to hear about those goals in chat if you're down. But if I'm keeping an eye on the clock here, we've got about 10 seconds left. We're going to be starting our first poem of the evening. So that'll be 25 minutes, which means I'll be seeing you again at 7:40. So y'all take care. Welcome back, everybody. How you doing? How you doing? Um, you've now completed your first of three poems of the evening, which is rad. Cool. Significant accomplishment. It's good work. This is the time of the evening where we take our first short break, so that's going to be about 5 minutes. Feel free to use this time to get up, stretch your legs, go to the fridge, fix a tea, fix a drink, step outside. Beautiful evening last I checked. Um, and just do something to recharge yourself for a couple of minutes. Um, if you've been following along with what I've been working on, you'll see that I had to change tracks somewhat abruptly. I was trying to do some zero drafting for additions and amendments to a chapter that it's been long enough since I looked at it. That not only do I not remember a whole lot of what I wrote, I need to now re-understand what I wrote, which feels like peak grad student dissertation living. Um, there's now enough distance between me and the text where I have to look at it again, re-internalize it, and go, okay, what was I on about? So I have switched probably for the rest of the evening to working through the existing material I have in this chapter, tweaking it where I need to, looking for places where I need to add stuff, and hopefully figuring out on a larger macro scale what I want to add. So writing is still happening, but there's also a bit more reading, writing, synthesis going on here. We could call this revisions. And you know what? Sometimes that happens. Sometimes you start a project and you realize, wow, this is just not happening right now. I need to do something else. So then the question becomes, okay, how can you continue to make effective use of that time, make effective use of that session while still being like in the neighborhood of the same task? Um, and this is something I think that applies equally well to final papers, final assignments. If you've hit a wall where you realize there's something you can't write, is there a different subtopic you can switch to and put your energy into? Because you've already made the commitment to sit down, get some of the writing done. That's time that you've made for yourself. There's already like a commitment happening there. How can you make good on that in a different way so that you're not just banging your head against the wall in a spot where you're not going to make any headway that evening? And that could involve working on a different section of the paper. It could involve going back to notes you've previously taken um, while doing research or reading. It could involve just going back and doing some of that reading itself. It's okay if you have to be adaptable in terms of what specifically you're targeting for that session. The session's still valid, the work is still valid. Um, a little bit of flexibility can help you salvage what would otherwise be an hour or more of just kind of staring at the wall and not getting the work done. Um, so that's something to keep in mind, I think. We've got about a minute left before we start a second poem. I'm just going to quickly check the chat again to make sure I haven't missed anything. Feel free to let me know how writing is going this evening for you in chat. Um, I don't think I need to have the window popped open to actually see live updates. I don't know why it always defaults to top chat. I guess YouTube is assuming that I am like a gaming streamer mega celebrity that has like thousands of people in chat simultaneously with the need to kind of like filter through that stuff. Doesn't really work for my purposes here, where I'm usually working closely with a few people. I'm kind of just rambling about YouTube again, and I'm not even a YouTuber, and I'm already starting to find things to complain about. Anyway, we will be starting our second poem of the evening, so I'm hoping this one goes well for you as well. Good luck with it, and I'll see you on the other side. Okay, so it looks like I forgot to mute my keyboard for that palm, so I apologize for the noise. I know I have quite a noisy mechanical keyboard, and I'm still not super savvy or much of an expert when it comes to streaming and encoding technologies. I thought I had the mute button down pat, but I guess this is still a learning experience for me too. So this is our second break, which means you've made it through two palms, which is rad. Um, this is usually the break where I take my own advice and get up and stretch my legs. So I'm going to do that now. I invite you and encourage you to do the same. You do need to take care of yourself and observe these recharge periods because it really does contribute to how productive you can be during kind of the on shifts. So do that. I'm going to do it, and I'll see you in a few minutes. It's pretty good timing, right? Again, I forgot to mute my headset. This is becoming a problem. Feel free to let me know how stuff is going in chat. I know I'm talking to one person right now. This is cool. So we've got less than 30 seconds before the start of our third and final palm, which means we're nearly there. That's pretty good. Yeah, I was just getting a bit of air. It's really nice out right now in Kitchener-Waterloo, so I encourage you to see a little bit of sun before it's gone for the evening. But for now, 25 more minutes. Let's see what we can do, and I'll see you on the other side. How's it going, everybody? That's 3 poems. You've made it through the evening. And we've got a few minutes left for a 10-minute break, and there'll be some summative reflection at the end. But give yourself some congratulations. You've made it through a full writing session. That's no small feat, especially right now. Um, Definitely had a moment there where my brain fell out of my head, and I looked at the timer, and I couldn't figure out how to stop it. So I may be at the point this evening where I've done about as much writing as I can, which is okay. That's fine. But do take a few minutes over the next little bit to rest up, recharge. Come back at about 10 to 9, and we will talk a little bit about summative reflection at the end before we part for the evening. Feel free as well to let me know in chat how it's gone. I know I'm talking to one of you, and it's been good conversation. I've enjoyed hearing from you and hearing what you're working on. So if anyone else is out there, reach out, say hi. I don't bite. Okay, that'll do it for our break, although we're almost at the end of everything, period, which is also exciting in its own way. Um, so this is the point of the evening where we do a little bit of summative reflection. I have been following along in the chat. It looks like this format is working for some people. I haven't received a lot of direct personal feedback on how it's going for other people, but a little bit of feedback. I'm hearing that this is a format that works for people, and that is exciting. And if I'm going to level with you, and if I'm going to be totally honest, it's a format that's working for me too. Um, there are weeks right now where putting on the live stream and is the only time of week where I'm doing formal writing for my studies. Um, I'm juggling a couple of different professional commitments right now, but actually forcing myself to sit down and write is something that has become more challenging as of late. Surprise, surprise. But the structure of sitting down and writing with my fellow students live on YouTube seems to work for me. There seems to be something there that helps me get it done. I mean, aside from the obvious fact that I have my writing on the screen and people can see me work, so there needs to be some kind of accountability. But it's been good for me too. So I want to extend a thanks to the people who have been tuning in throughout the semester and interacting with me and hanging out and chatting because you're helping me get it done too. Uh, this is working both ways, is what I'm trying to say. Um, so we do have a bit of time at the end for some kind of journaling and reflection. If you've been tuning in regularly, you already know how this goes, but if you're new to the broadcast, basically how this works is that your end of writing session reflections kind of parallel the initial thinking you did about your goals. So again, split into three categories, clear as day on the screen right now, but let's talk about them anyway. First of all, how did your progress line up with your goals? Did you overshoot your expectations? Did you hit something closer to that stretch goal pie in the sky target? Did you have more of an average day? Did you have um, an off day? Sorry, my brain froze. I was looking for the word. I knew it was in there somewhere. Um, but kind of evaluate where along that mark you feel you would put your yardstick for the evening. Second question, how do you feel about that work that you got done? And this is kind of regardless of which of those targets or metrics you hit. How do you feel about the work that you did today? The mark that you left on the page, the words you left on the screen. Um, Ideally good, right? Because making the effort to show up to like a live stream on YouTube put on by a writing center at a university, I can't imagine like a nerdier thing for us to be involved in. But like that's a commitment that you've kept, and that's cool. That reflects well on you. That's something to be commended, something to be proud of. So I feel good about the work you did today. How do you feel about the work you did today? And third, this is also a constant refrain from week to week. What can you do to keep the momentum going for the next session, whether it's next week or tomorrow, or if you have the paper due at midnight and you need to go through a few more palms before the midnight hour? How can you keep the momentum going? And that comes, I think, through establishing some goals in advance for the next session. So you've got a bit of a ramp, a bit of an on ramp to keeping this work up. So I've heard a little bit in chat about how things have been going for other people. Feel free to share more details, or if you haven't said hi yet, please do so. I'm lonely. That came out more desperate than I necessarily intended it to, but you know, it's all part of my on brand sense of charisma, right? Anyway, if I'm to reflect on my own goals for the evening, is chaotic neutral an answer, a viable answer to question one? How did my progress line up with my goals? Because I started working on one thing, realized it wasn't going to be viable, and kind of changed gears, moved on to something else. Had some good work when I switched gears, found some spots for revision, made some amendments in text on the fly, I definitely felt I was getting to the running out of steam part of the evening. Throughout the third palm, I wasn't quite so sure what to add to the work when I got to that stage, but I was still looking through it, organizing it, getting a sense of what that text was in my mind, and we were okay. So that's also kind of answering my third question, but I'll try and do this in order. So all of that on the table, I think I had kind of an average day. Um, I didn't get a whole new section started. I didn't write like pages upon pages, but the work that I did was meaningful and substantial and is about what I would expect for myself, given 75 minutes to write, and given the fact that I'm also running and kind of mediating and moderating a live stream, which again, still something that is still a language that my brain doesn't natively speak. So I have to give myself a little bit of leniency for that. Um, Goals. How do I feel about my work today? Well, I feel pretty good about it. I'm mostly proud of the fact that I was able to adapt to the fact that I was crashing out of what I had previously set myself to do for the evening. I was able to pull back, change course, find something else on the same subject, in the same broad assignment category to work on, and I was able to salvage the evening. I was able to salvage the session. So I feel pretty good about that. That's all right. Goals for the next section. Well, there was one part of the text where I clearly marked this is the place where I need to add stuff next. It wasn't immediately helpful or useful to me for this session because I need to do a bit more reading before I fill that section out. But now I remember what my chapter says in the first place, which is a huge win unto itself, and I know where to start writing next. And because I know where to start writing next, I know what to read in advance to be prepared for that writing next time. So I actually accomplished quite a lot there, just doing a little bit of identification. Um, so that's cool. I feel pretty good about that. You should feel pretty good about what you're working on. On you should sentences English. I am stumbling over my words. I could say that time of evening. I could just as easily say that time of year, that time of lifetime. What is time? We were through that. We went through this at the beginning of the evening, didn't we? But yeah, I think it's been a good session, and I think you should be proud of the work that you're accomplishing day to day, week to week, not just with me, not just by attending these write ins, although that is commendable stuff, but the work that you're accomplishing on your own independently. Because let's be real, this is a difficult ass term for a lot of reasons, in a lot of ways, in ways that have forced us to rethink how we do work, how we adapt to uncertain, unpleasant circumstances. You're doing a good job. So give yourself some congratulations for that. I am delighted to see people showing up to this every week, getting a little bit of work done. If we're making a tiny bit of difference for a small group of people, that means that we're accomplishing something here. And not just me. I mean, we're accomplishing something collectively as a group. We're getting through the semester, we're taking charge, and that kicks ass. So we're going to have one more of these sessions next week. Uh, as I check my calendar, that will be August 6th. That will be our last live write-in for the semester. So I hope to see everybody there, but for tonight, I'm going to be signing off. Thanks for interacting in chat. It's always a pleasure talking to people.